Have you ever woken up and realized your entire life was a lie? That the person sleeping next to you every night wasn't who you thought they were? Emma Richards. A woman who learned the hard way that sometimes the person who promises to protect you is actually the one you need protection from. Emma's story begins in darkness, complete, suffocating darkness. She opened her eyes, but for a moment she couldn't tell if they were actually open. Her head was pounding, her mouth was dry, and as consciousness slowly crept back in, she realized something was terribly, horribly wrong. Her wrists hurt. She tried to move them, and that's when she heard it. The metallic clinking of chains. Emma was chained to a wall. Let that sink in for a moment. She went to sleep in her own bed, in her own home, next to her husband of 7 years, and woke up chained in a basement. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light from a single bare bulb hanging above her, Emma took in her surroundings. Cold concrete walls, a thin stained mattress in the corner, a bucket, a metal folding chair, nothing else. This was a prison. Emma's mind raced, trying to piece together what had happened. She remembered being in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. David, her husband, had called down to her. He needed help finding something in the basement. She'd gone down the stairs, and then nothing. Just a sharp pain at the base of her skull, and then darkness. And now she was here, chained like an animal. That's when she heard footsteps above her head, slow, deliberate, moving across the ceiling. Then, they started coming down the stairs. Emma's heart was hammering so hard, she thought it might burst out of her chest. The door creaked open, and there, standing in the doorway, was David, her husband, the man she'd married 7 years ago, the man who'd promised to love and cherish her in sickness and in health. He was holding a tray with a sandwich and a glass of water, but it was his face that made Emma's blood run cold. There was no warmth there, no recognition, no love, just nothing, like he was looking at an object, not a person. "David?" Emma's voice came out as a broken whisper. What's happening? Why am I chained up?" David set the tray on the floor and slid it toward her with his foot. He stayed just out of reach, like he'd planned this, like he knew exactly what he was doing. "I'm sorry, Emma," he said calmly. Too calmly. "I truly am, but this is necessary." "Necessary? Necessary? Necessary?" Emma's voice rose with panic. "You chained me up. Let me go. David, please, I don't understand." "It's for your safety," he interrupted. His voice was flat, clinical. "They're watching us, Emma. If I let you go, they'll know. And if they know, everything we've worked for will be ruined." They're watching us. Emma stared at her husband, searching his eyes for the man she knew. The man who'd held her during thunderstorms because she was afraid. The man who'd surprised her with breakfast in bed on random Tuesdays. The man who'd cried at their wedding. But that man was gone. This was someone else, a stranger wearing her husband's face. "Who's watching us?" Emma asked, her voice shaking. "David, you're scaring me. This isn't you." David just looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, "Just try to understand. A few more days. That's all I need. Then everything will be clear." And he was gone. Emma was alone in the darkness. Now, before we continue with what happens next, if you're already hooked by this story, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. And if you love psychological thrillers that mess with your mind, subscribe to Life Twisted Stories. Because we bring you stories like this every single week. Trust me, you don't want to miss what Emma discovers next. All right, let's get back to the story. Days passed. or maybe it was weeks. Emma couldn't tell anymore. Without windows, without clocks, without any connection to the outside world, time became meaningless. Day and night blurred together into one endless stretch of waiting. David came twice a day, always the same routine. Tray on the floor, slide it forward, leave before Emma could get close. He never answered her questions, never explained who they were, never told her what he was protecting her from. Each visit left Emma more confused, more desperate, more terrified. But on the fourth night, or maybe it was the fifth, she couldn't be sure anymore. Something changed. Emma was lying on the mattress, staring at the ceiling, when she heard voices from upstairs. David was talking to someone. Emma pressed her ear against the cold floor, straining to hear. David's voice was muffled, but clear enough to make out. And there was another voice, a woman, professional, cold. How is the subject responding to isolation? Subject. The woman had said, subject. Emma's entire body went rigid. David's voice came next. Stable, some emotional distress, as expected, but manageable. The controlled environment is working. A pause. Then the woman again. Good. Dr. Morrison wants a full report by Friday. We need measurable results, David. This experiment can't fail. Experiment. That word, experiment. It hit Emma like a physical blow. This wasn't about protection. This wasn't about safety. This was something else entirely. Something calculated. Something planned. Emma's mind was racing. How long had David been planning this? Who was Dr. Morrison? And what kind of experiment involved locking your own wife in a basement? She forced herself to breathe, to think clearly. Panic wouldn't save her. She needed to understand what was happening. Emma looked around the basement with new eyes, really looked at it. The walls were freshly painted. The light fixture was new. The chains weren't rusty. They were shiny, recently installed. This basement hadn't been here long. It had been built, prepared, designed specifically for this purpose. And then Emma saw something that made her stomach drop. In the corner near the ceiling, a tiny glint of glass, a camera lens. She scanned the rest of the basement. Another camera behind a pipe. Another was tucked into a crack in the concrete. How many were there? 3, 4, 5? They were watching her right now, recording everything, every tear, every breakdown, every moment of fear. This wasn't a prison. This was a laboratory, and Emma was the rat in the maze. Are you still with me? Because this story is about to get even darker. If you're invested in finding out what Emma does next, show some love by hitting that like button, and share this video with someone who loves twisted psychological thrillers. They'll thank you for it. Now, let's see what Emma discovers that changes everything. Emma spent the next day pretending to eat, pretending to sleep, pretending she hadn't heard anything, pretending she didn't know about the cameras. But in reality, she was searching. Her fingers explored every inch of the walls within the range of her chains, every crack, every crevice, looking for anything that could help her understand what was happening. That's when she felt it, a slight depression in the concrete near the mattress. Emma pressed harder, and a small panel shifted. Inside was a black notebook. Emma's hands were shaking as she opened it. The handwriting inside was neat, clinical, familiar, David's handwriting, and what she read made her blood turn to ice. Day 1, subject isolated, initial confusion and fear response within normal parameters. Subject, he was calling her subject. Day 3, subject showing signs of Stockholm Syndrome formation. Relationship bond proves useful for compliance. Emma kept reading, even though every word felt like a knife twisting in her chest. Day 7. Reduced resistance to confinement. Subject accepting food regularly. Stress hormones should be peaking now. Page after page. Medical observations, psychological assessments, behavioral predictions. She wasn't his wife in these pages. She was subject 7A. But it was what came next that shattered Emma's world completely. Research project, trauma-induced memory reconstruction. Principal investigator, Dr. Helena Morrison. Lead researcher, David Richards. Hypothesis: can controlled traumatic isolation rewrite the subject's memories of past trauma, allowing for therapeutic intervention? Subject background: Emma Richards, age 34. Childhood trauma from parental abandonment. Let me explain what Emma had just discovered. All those nights she'd cried in David's arms about her mother leaving when she was 7 years old. All those intimate conversations about her deepest pain, her deepest wounds. All those moments when she'd been vulnerable and raw and honest. David had been taking notes. He'd been collecting data. He'd weaponized her trauma against her. This entire thing, the basement, the chains, the isolation, it was all a psychological experiment about trauma recovery. And David wasn't just her husband. He was one of the researchers. Emma dropped the notebook. Her hands were shaking too hard to hold it anymore. Footsteps. David was coming. Emma quickly shoved the notebook back into its hiding place and composed herself on the mattress. When the door opened, she looked up at David. But this time, she saw him differently. Not as her husband, as her captor, her torturer, her betrayer. "How are you feeling today, Emma?" David asked. His voice was gentle, concerned, the performance of a caring husband. But Emma could hear it now, the clinical curiosity underneath. He was studying her, taking mental notes, measuring her responses. "Tired," Emma said carefully. "Confused. David, when can I leave?" "Soon, I promise. You're doing so well, better than He caught himself. Better than we hoped. That slip, that tiny crack in his facade. Better than we hoped. Emma filed that away. "Who are they, David?" Emma asked softly. "The people watching us?" She watched his face carefully, a flash of surprise. He hadn't expected her to mention them again. "That's not important right now," David said. "What's important is that you trust me." Emma forced herself to look into his eyes, to lie as convincingly as he had lied to her for months, maybe years. "I do trust you," she said. "You're my husband." David smiled, relieved. "Good, that's very good, Emma." As he turned to leave, Emma made a decision. She would give them their experiment, but not the one they expected. "Okay, I need you to pause for just a second, because what Emma does next is absolutely brilliant. But before I tell you, if you're loving this story, hit that subscribe button right now. Ring that notification bell, because Life Twisted Stories drops mind-bending content like this every single week, and you don't want to miss it. Drop a comment and tell me, what would you do in Emma's situation? Would you fight back? Would you escape? Or would you do what Emma's about to do? All right, let's see how Emma turns the tables. Emma waited 2 more days. 2 days of playing the role they wanted, the compliant subject. The traumatized wife is learning to trust again. She ate when they expected, slept when they watched, showed just enough distress to seem authentic, but not enough to alarm them. All the while, she was planning. On the 7th day of her captivity, Emma put her plan into motion. She started hyperventilating, pulling at her chains with desperate force. Her screams echoed through the basement, raw and terrified. David, please, I can't breathe. Something's wrong. Please help me." The door burst open. David rushed down the stairs, his professional mask slipping. For the first time in days, he looked genuinely panicked. "Emma, what's happening?" Emma was gasping, clutching her chest. "My chest! I can't breathe!" David knelt beside her, and that's when Emma struck. For days, Emma had been chipping away at the concrete wall, tiny bits at a time. While David watched on his cameras, he saw a desperate woman clawing at walls. What he didn't see was that she was collecting pieces, sharp pieces, heavy pieces, and now she held one in her hand. She swung it with all her strength. David crumpled to the floor, unconscious. Emma's hands were shaking as she searched his pockets. Keys. She found the keys to her chains. She unlocked herself, her wrists raw and bleeding from days of metal digging into her skin. But Emma didn't run. She could have. She could have run upstairs, out the door, and screamed for help. But she didn't. Instead, Emma dragged David's unconscious body to the wall, and she locked him in the chains, the same chains he'd used to imprison her. Then she stood over him and waited. David's eyes fluttered open, confusion, then recognition, then horror as he realized where he was. "Emma, what are you doing?" Emma picked up the notebook, his notebook, and she read aloud. "Subject 7A, that's me, right? Your wife, your research subject." Her voice was cold, controlled. "Tell me, David, at what point did you stop seeing me as human?" "Emma, you don't understand," David said frantically. "This was supposed to help you. Your trauma, my trauma was mine." Emma's voice cracked, but she steadied herself. "You had no right to use it against me. No right to turn my pain into your experiment." "How many others, David?" Emma asked quietly. "How many other subjects have there been?" David's silence was answer enough. Emma pulled out her phone. David had been stupid enough, arrogant enough, to leave it in his pocket. She dialed 911. "Yes, I need police at 247 Oakwood Drive. My husband has been holding me captive in our basement. Please hurry." The police arrived within 15 minutes. Emma sat on the front porch, wrapped in a blanket an officer had given her. She watched as they brought David up from the basement in handcuffs. He looked at her as they led him past. His expression was a mixture of shock, betrayal, and disbelief. Emma met his gaze steadily, and she showed nothing. At the police station, Emma told her story. She recounted everything: the awakening in chains, the cryptic warnings, the overheard conversations, the notebook. Every detail is carefully crafted to paint David as a monster, and she played the perfect victim, traumatized, confused, grateful to be safe. "We'll need you to come back for more questioning tomorrow," Detective Chen said. "In the meantime, is there someone you can stay with? Family?" "My sister," Emma said softly. "I can go to my sister's." As the detective walked her to the exit, Emma spotted someone in the hallway, a woman in her 50s, impeccably dressed, arguing with another officer, Dr. Helena Morrison. Their eyes met for just a fraction of a second, and Emma smiled, a small, secret smile that didn't reach her eyes. Dr. Morrison's face went pale. "Now here's where I need to tell you something that changes everything you just heard." Because Emma had known all along. Let me explain. 6 months before Emma woke up in that basement, she'd been cleaning David's office. She'd found a research proposal, hidden in a drawer he thought was locked. She'd read everything: the experiment designs, the methodology, the list of potential subjects. And there, at the bottom of the page, was her name. Emma had known for 6 months that David was planning to lock her in a basement, that he was going to use her childhood trauma as the basis for a psychological experiment. She could have left. She could have gone to the police. She could have confronted him. But Emma made a different choice. She decided to let it happen. Because Emma realized something David and Dr. Morrison hadn't considered. If they wanted to study trauma and manipulation and psychological control, she could study them right back. Every reaction David had documented, the fear, the confusion, the gradual compliance, all of it was calculated, performed. Emma had known about the cameras from day one. She'd played her role perfectly, giving them exactly the responses they expected. But all the while, she was gathering evidence, documenting their crimes, building a case that would destroy them both. The notebook she found, she'd known it was there. She'd watched David hide it weeks earlier. The panic attack, completely fabricated, the escape, planned down to the second. Emma had turned the entire experiment around. She'd made David and Dr. Morrison believe they were studying her, when all along, she was studying them. And when the moment was right, she'd sprung her trap. As Emma walked out of that police station into the cool night air, she pulled a thumb drive from her pocket. On it was everything. David's notes, video footage she'd secretly recorded on her phone during his visits, email exchanges with Dr. Morrison that she'd found on his computer months ago. Evidence of a conspiracy that went far deeper than one basement prison. Emma looked up at the stars and allowed herself one genuine smile. They'd wanted to study trauma and recovery and psychological manipulation. Instead, they'd learned a different lesson about underestimation, about hubris, about what happens when you turn a human being into an experiment. David had locked Emma in the basement to protect his research, but Emma had let herself be locked in to protect something far more valuable: justice. The experiment wasn't over. It was just beginning. And this time, Emma was the one writing the notes. So, what did you think? Did you see that ending coming? Or did Emma completely blindside you like she blindsided David? Here's what I want you to do. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button right now. Seriously, it helps more than you know. Subscribe to Life Twisted Stories if you want more mind-bending psychological thrillers like this. We upload a new twisted tale every single week. And drop a comment below. Tell me, do you think Emma was justified? Would you have done the same thing? Or would you have handled it differently? Share this video with your friends who love dark psychological stories. Trust me, they'll be talking about this one for days. Next time, I'm bringing you another story that'll make you question everything you think you know about the people closest to you. Until then, remember this: not everyone who locks you up is trying to protect you. And not every victim is as helpless as they seem.